All right, belt marks, this one's for you. We're doing a tier ranking of 100 championship belts. Come on in. What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Seth Grimes, and today we're doing something fun, a little bit of bonus content for you. We are going to do a tier ranking of 100 championship belts. Yes, I said that, 100. This is a very comprehensive list, though it is not complete. And I will admonish myself right off the bat, because as I was loading the pictures in for the championships that I went and pulled off of the internet last night, I completely forgot the $1 Million Championship. How fucking dare I? That's embarrassing because it's one of my all-time favorite belts, but it's not on here. So you're going to see that. Inevitably, there's going to be championships that are your favorite or that you're going to think of that just didn't make the list. Yes, it's 100, but this is the wrestling business. There's more than 100 belts in AEW itself. So I tried to put together the best list that I could. It may be missing your favorite. If that's the case, I do apologize. Also, I want to add the caveat that there will be different iterations of a belt. For example, the current WWE Universal Championship is essentially the same design as the Universal Championship, as the WWE Championship, just, slightly modified. Though I am going to count them as different championships. However, other belts that are slightly modified, like the TNT Championship, how it had the original unfinished look that Cody Rhodes had, the God's Favorite Champion version of it, and so on. Those don't make the cut. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no hard set rule. So you ADD people that need rules to live by, I'm sorry. I don't have a hard and fast decision. I just decided, yes, we'll take that one. No, we won't take that one. Same goes for women's titles. Obviously, the WWE Women's Championship is the exact same design as the WWE Championship, just with a white strap. Same with the world title. So we did make decisions there as well in what to include, what not to include. But this still should be fun. And I do encourage you to leave your thoughts in the comments below. What did I miss? What did you want to see other than the $1 Million Championship, obviously? And what did I get wrong? Because this is the internet and I will inevitably offend somebody here. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive on in to tier ranking these bitches. But before we do, if I could bug you to hit that subscribe button down below, it would make me a very happy man. I would love you so much. With all that said, let's hop on over to our tier ranker. All right, we are over here at our tier maker list, and you can see the list of championships down below that we're going to be working with, as well as our ranking system. Let's go over that here. Starting at the bottom with Medusa. Old school wrestling fans, those who watch their wrestling history, will know exactly why the bottom tier here is the Medusa tier, because these belts belong in the trash, just like Medusa did with the WWF Women's title on Nitro. Next, we have Meh. I wouldn't throw these in the trash, but they're not that great. They certainly could have done better. Mid. These are just there. They're serviceable. They don't suck, but they're not great either. They're very mid-level championships. Up next, we have Ace. These belts are top-of-the-line championship belts. They're very nice looking, very presentable. They embody everything that you would want a championship to embody, but they might not be the greatest of all time. That is reserved up here for the top ranking of GOATed. These championships that make it to this elite top tier are the GOATed championships, the greatest of all time. And yes, by definition, there would only be one greatest of all time, but there's going to be several, I would imagine, because I myself am a huge belt mark. I fucking love championship belts. As you can see, the winged eagle in the background. A little bit about what we're going to be doing here, because there's 100. We're not going to be going into deep histories of any of these belts or anything like that. We're going to be judging them really based on look alone, maybe a little bit on relevancy. Did it matter? Was it a pointless title? That sort of thing. And then also maybe a thing or two that comes to mind, if there's a prominent wrestler associated with it, that sort of thing. But we'll kind of try to bust through these and keep this somewhat short, even though we got a hundo here. And again, not a comprehensive list. I'm sure I forgot yours already, your favorite, but let's go ahead and get started. And we'll pull right here from the bottom, the WWE 24/7 Championship. This is the ugliest title I've ever seen in the history of pro wrestling, perhaps. Though I do love... Does anybody follow R-Truth on social media? He does a lot of shorts and shit, and he's always wearing the 24/7 title. I fucking love that. That makes me laugh. I think him alone gives this title value, but other than that, it is complete and total trash. It belongs in the trash. It is a Medusa title. The WWE Championship Spinner Belt Edition, the one made famous by John Cena when he first won the WWE Championship. I'm going to put this in meh. I wouldn't say it's complete garbage, because obviously the WWE title has prestige, and a lot of, Triple H held this belt, John Cena held this belt, Edge held this belt, probably other people, I'm sure. So it has credibility, but it spins. Even when they locked it into place, it spins. Miz did the fun thing where the W was upside down for Miz. That was kind of cool. And it says champ. I don't know. You don't want slang. A good belt should say championship on it, or champion on it, not champ. It's a little weird. Next, let's do the For the World Championship, formerly known as the Fuck the World Championship. It's actually a pretty cool looking belt. I would put this in mid. I like the orange. Nobody really does orange with their championship belts. There was an original version of that did not make the list. That was just basically a refurbished or a reworked version of the Winged Eagle belt. But and you'll see that I tried to not do that here, but you will see that out on the internet. And those are not belts that are ripping off the Winged Eagle necessarily. Those were Reggie Park belts, and Reggie Park created those with his bare hands, and he kind of owns, or at least did own, the bones of those championship belts. So he could put a different logo on it and resell it, and it would not be a copyright infringement. Moving on. Speaking of garbage, Medusa, trash ass belts, this Bray Wyatt fucking, I don't know what that was. There's zero bling on it. It doesn't shine. It's a prop. It's a belt. It's a weight belt. It's just a mask on leather. There's no, and they were selling that. People were buying those as replicas. I don't know. That is not a championship belt. I don't know what that is, but it's not a championship belt. The AEW Continental Championship. You'll see that half of the belts on this list are AEW belts, because that's how they roll. This Continental belt is ugly as fuck. It's probably their worst belt. The shape of it's nice. I like that it's mostly gold. But they're, the big crown in the middle, it's just, I don't know. It doesn't look like they tried all that hard. And really, the belt doesn't matter all that much either. It's kind of stupid that they even think they just did it so that they could give Eddie Kingston his Triple Crown moment, so to speak. Speaking of the Triple Crown, we have this All Japan Championship belt here, All Japan Pro Wrestling, the Triple Crown Championship belt. This was, I don't know Japanese history as well as I do my American wrestling history, but the Triple Crown was 3 different belts like Eddie Kingston did here, and they just kind of consolidated them. And this championship here happens to be the physical merger of all 3, the new one belt that they created for the 3, as far as I'm aware anyway. This is a more, I like the Japanese style of belts. This one's a pretty fancy looking belt, but I am going to tuck it away here in mid. I don't think it's much better than that. It's not too gorgeous. It's not one that I want to run out and add to my collection, but it's certainly not hideous. My first curveball here on the list is the IBF Boxing Championship belt. And I should kick myself in the balls because I forgot the $1 million championship, but I made a point to go out and find the fucking IBF Boxing belt. But I did also add UFC belts to this list because they're still championship belts, and I'm still a belt mark, and they still have the same kind of look, feel, and presentation, kinda. This one looks like one of those cheap knockoffs, though, that you can buy off Amazon, that just, generic boxing title belt. I believe they even have one of these on Pawn Stars hanging up in the background. I mean, it's certainly an iconic, if you're a boxing fan, it's an iconic championship. But I'm going to place it right down here in meh. Even in boxing belts, I feel like it's pretty bad. I wouldn't say outright trash because, I don't like the way that boxing really, like the shapes of their belts and everything. It's a little bit weird, but as far as the boxing world goes, it's an iconic belt, so you can't just dump it in the trash. The current United States Championship for WWE. This is one that I didn't like necessarily at first. I'm not big on change, but it has grown on me quite a bit. It's, the letters are a little bit big and gaudy, but I do like the shape of it, and there is a certain elegance to it, even though it's got a little bit of it's a little tacky at the same time. But that's, to me, that's America, right? A little bit of elegance and a little bit of tacky all at the same time. I'm gonna slide this one right into mid here. I don't think it's just meh to me, but it doesn't exceed mid. The NWA Tag Team titles. Now, these are actually pretty dope for old titles. I'm not a huge fan of old titles, and I really don't like that I think NWA is... I mean, this is... I can go on a rant here about NWA. I think they're wanting to stay old school hurts them significantly and makes them look lower, generic, trashy, less than. But I don't know why they use these belts, but you know what, other than tradition and look, there's something to be said about tradition and I don't like that you just update the belts constantly. There should be a belt that's held for a long, significant time, that I'm holding the same belt that Ric Flair held, that Bret Hart held, and so on, you know what I mean? But I actually, as far as older belts, these ones are decent. I'm going to slide them in mid. The old UWF Championship. This was the old Bill Watts territory. This belt actually looks good to me. I like the design. This was actually borrowed from Ring of Honor when they used their championships in silver. Dead ringer for the old UWF Championship. I like it. It's clean. It's simple. It's not tacky. It looks like a championship, but it's got the big bold letters up in the front too, so it's got the branding. I'm going to slide that right in mid. I don't think it's an ace, but it's certainly not a meh. The UFC Championship, the current one. This is a gross belt. It's ugly. It's a unique design, I'll give them that, but this is an example, and we'll get to more of these later, where a company changes the belts, and it's like, why would you, like, UFC's old belts, spoiler alert, were fucking amazing. They were gorgeous, beautiful championships, and then they switched to this weird looking fucking thing, and I don't get it. It's certainly unique. It looks maybe more boxing-esque, more sporty than wrestling. I don't know, but to me it's trash. It belongs in the garbage can in the Medusa category. Next up, MLW's Tag Team Championships. MLW's got some pretty nice looking belts. All that money that they won off of WWE and Vince McMahon for their lawsuits, they can afford to buy some real pretty fancy championships. I believe these ones have been around long before that, but they got nice looking belts. I would not put them up in ace though. Still, we are being very conservative about these top categories. I would put this as a mid-level championship. It's very nice design. It's clean. It looks fancy, but it just doesn't, it doesn't stand out to me as something that I just have to run out and get. The AEW Riho Women's World's Championship. This thing sucks. I think they tried to go with like a throwback and make it look more dainty and traditional and classy, and make it fit Riho, who's all of 80 pounds, 83 pounds. Because it is so classy looking, I won't throw it in the trash, but I'm going to slide it down here in meh. And they did try to make it bigger once other people started winning the belt that were bigger than Riho, which is everybody. They made a bigger version of it with the same design, but I like what they got going on better now. I just think, I don't know about the daintiness of it. It was a little weird for me. We have this weird thing here. This was a NWA Television Championship right around the time that they had the World Championship Wrestling. This was, I honestly couldn't tell you because it's not the OG NWA Television Championship, which I like better. And it wasn't the new one that they had for WCW. So this must have been just an in-between right before they maybe made that conversion. Historians, correct me on that in the comments. This is kind of a cool looking belt though. It's very colorful. It's got the huge globe on it and all the different flags and that sort of thing. I can't say that it's like an ace belt though. It's got to be mid. It's a mid title. Next up, we have this beaut right here, an absolute classic, the classic Intercontinental title. And this will be one of those instances where, the white strapped version or the one with the black logo on the top that Cody Rhodes brought back, with the modern day WWE logo. All the same, in my opinion. It's essentially the same design. This was a huge part of my childhood. I remember drawing this. I remember wishing I had this belt. I remember knowing that the WWE Winged Eagle title was the top title and was my favorite, just slightly. But I really liked this belt too, to the point where when I wanted replicas and shit, it was hard to decide even which one I wanted. This is an absolute goated championship belt, in my opinion. This old Reg Parks Intercontinental title, late 80s, early 90s version. It's GOAT. The old NWA United States Tag Team Championships. I remember these very vaguely from when I was a little kid. I believe the Southern Boys had them. Was that what it was? It was Tracy Smothers and one of the Armstrong brothers, I think it was. Or the Smoking Pistols. I don't fucking know. But I remember these belts. And then there was the Fireman Chip, Firebreaker Chip, something like that. And the other guy, I don't know. I think they had these belts too for a little bit. I actually really like these belts. I don't know if I'd put them in ace though. We'll go mid with these, but that's a very fancy set of championships. The simple USA in the middle. Good shit. The GCW World title. This is a unique design. It's unique to them. It's silver, which, I prefer the gold, but you can do some good with the silver too. Obviously, I'm sure it's cheaper probably to do it that way. Nice design. It's a little bit small for me though. I will probably go meh with this one. I know there's going to probably be some haters there. I love that they added a lot of cool shit to this. They got the fencing and stuff in the background, but it's small and it's silver. And, just when you look at the big picture, it's just World GCW champ. I don't know. The original NXT Tag Team titles. These were fun belts. I love the split in half look. I thought that was a cool concept for tag team titles. Like a half and halfsies kind of thing like that. cool concept, a little simple and not really elegant and as classy as it could be, but kind of fun for NXT. I think I'll put these. Oh, it's between meh and mid. Let's go. I don't know if they're meh. I think that's a little bit mean. We'll go mid with the NXT tag titles. The Never Openweight Championship for New Japan. I typically like New Japan's belts, and it's got a cool shape to it, and it makes good use of the gold and the rubies and the silver and that sort of thing. I think something's lost in translation with the Never Open. I don't get that necessarily. I think it's like an open weight kind of thing because they have the juniors and the heavyweights, but I could be wrong there. But just the word never plastered across it, I don't know. We're going to put that in meh for me. It's probably a pretty fancy belt. It probably looks pretty blingy, but never. The AWA World's Championship. I believe this is the older version. I could be wrong. There are two here on this list. And I do believe this would be the older one. This is the Vern Gagne special right here. This might have been... let's see here. I mean, it's so simple. It actually looks kind of blingy because it's almost mirrored there. The silver's got a shine. I think Bockwinkel held this too, if I'm not mistaken, but it's kind of ugly. I don't know that it belongs in the trash because I think it's got this weird like plaque in the middle. It's like a plaque. I don't know. It's a very we couldn't afford super fancy engraving, so we're just gonna get a big shiny plate. And we're going to put a couple placard pieces on there, make our own fucking generic belt here. Let's put that in meh. I'm not too impressed with that, even for an old belt. We have here a very old ECW championship. This is, looks like the state of Pennsylvania. So this might have actually been the Eastern Championship belt, I believe it was. Forgive me, I didn't watch Eastern Championship Wrestling or really was not all that impressed with the early days of ECW either. When you go back and watch ECW TV on the network, that first year or whatever, where they're still using like Jimmy Snuka and stuff, it's kind of not for me necessarily, but mid 90s indies, early 90s indies. It's a fancy looking belt though. I don't know that I can shit on the look of it too much. I think we'll throw it here in mid. I don't think it goes any higher than that, but it's certainly not disgraceful. TNA makes the list here with this TNA Heavyweight Championship. Not their current belt and not the original. They went through a few iterations of belts. This one was, I think, a mid-2000s. This was like around the time where Hulk Hogan took over. I think this is where this came into play. I actually think this is a pretty beautiful belt. Everything's solid gold other than the bright letters of the TNA in Heavyweight Champion in silver. It's a hefty belt. I actually think this looks pretty good. I hesitate to put it in ace. Bear with me, the AC just kicked on. It's the middle of summer. Fuck off. So if you hear a slight hum all of a sudden, that's where it's coming from, and I ain't gonna wait. I think we're gonna put this in ace. Let's ace that shit. That's a fancy belt, and I think that might be controversial, and I might decide differently tomorrow. But I like it, so fuck off. Why not do back-to-back TNA championships? There was this one, which I think was the precursor to the one that we just did. This was the prior one to that. A lot of people love this championship belt. This might be goated for some of you. I actually think it's a pretty beautiful belt as well. It's a little hard to make everything out though. Nothing necessarily pops on it. And the frame kind of, I don't know that it can reach like an iconic status because it's all like the points and stuff. It makes a unique look to it. It's very unique, original, but I don't know that it's like stands out to me. I think I'm going to actually slide this in mid. And y'all are going to be hating me because I know this belt gets love, and I know the other one, you might want to flip-flop. Make your own list. The WCW Cruiserweight Championship. This was the original one, not the late 90s version where they redid everything and it looked like shit. This was the one that Dean Malenko and Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio and all of them would have been competing over at the time. Chris Jericho was in that mix, and Ultimo Dragon. And for that, I think, God, I mean, it's a legendary title. As far as the looks, it's just going to go in mid, though. I don't know. Well, you know what? I might even slide that down to meh. It's a nice looking belt for what it is, but it's certainly not, you know, something that you must have in your collection unless you're just a huge WCW Cruiserweight mark, which you could be. The OG Ring of Honor Championship here, as I said, is definitely a complete ripoff of the UWF title. If you take a look at them together, the font might be different on the ROH, but still, it's big red letters in the middle, and same, you know, with the ribbons of the championship and everything. It's the same exact belt, same design, probably the same maker, but they just switched the silver and switched the font on it. But it's still a gorgeous belt. This is actually my favorite of the Ring of Honor World Championships. It was this old simple one, probably because I like the UWF design. So I'm actually going to put this in ace. It'll be first silver belt to make the ace. And I know that's going to be controversial, especially because UWF already did it and it's in mid. Something about, I guess it just worked better for ROH, or I'm more nostalgic for it. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Silver doesn't normally beat gold either, but it does in this case. The Lucha Underground World Championship. This is a beautiful belt. This has very intricate design, and I'll tell you something too. I think the Aztec architecture, the Aztec designs, the ancient Aztec look of things lends itself to a championship title. I think just using, the Aztecian design, and look, man, I know I'm not using, I could find a different word than Aztecian, but I just love that style. You know exactly what I'm talking about, and it lends itself, the Legends of the Hidden Temple type shit, right? It lends itself to a championship belt. It looks nice. Ace, though? Is it an ace belt? I think it is. I think it's a unique enough design. I think it stands out, and I think it's gorgeous enough that I think I could put it in ace. The WWE Universal Championship. Now, this one will be, you could pick your blue one. Why does the red one on? I don't know. It's just a picture that I grabbed. Doesn't matter. Same belt, blue one, red one, doesn't matter. I do like the blue better than the red, but really it doesn't matter. It's the same similar design. And for all intents and purposes, we can rank them together. I actually, thought the big W in the middle was tacky for a while, but it started to grow on me, and I get the point. You want the blingy WWE logo right there on people's shoulders, though I don't necessarily like it on the red and the blue. It might look better on the white and the black, in my opinion. So for this one, I'm just going to put it down here in meh, actually. I'm not even going to say that one's mid, though a different color would change that probably. Here's a fun one for you OG people, the Lou Thez NWA Championship. The OG, the original gangsta, if you will. This thing's so old that it didn't even come on a belt. It's got a belt here, but it was like held together with chains, and I think it could be put on like a belt, like on a weight belt or something. But it's not. I don't know that it even, because I've seen it pictured with and without an actual strap. So I think it's detachable. I don't know. Don't fucking quote me on that though. But either way, I mean, it appears on just a normal, weird, like chintzy looking weight belt. There's no thickness to it. And this is why I don't like old belts, by the way. They're smaller. They are tackier. They look more like a trophy or an award that you have up on your shelf, and they don't necessarily look blingy. I think it was really in the 80s where we started to see the beautiful architecture in some of these belts. But I don't know, man. I know a lot of people. I think Jim Cornette's even stated as saying this was his all-time favorite belt. To me, it's a toy that you find in your Cracker Jack box. I don't know. I wouldn't throw it in the trash just because it's got a legacy, but it's very meh in my opinion. The Chris Jericho Intercontinental Championship. This was the one that was introduced in the Attitude Era that actually replaced this goated one up here. Now, if you look at the two, this is an example of why in the fuck would you change a championship, or at least change it so drastically. Like the something with the oval shape to it and the way that it's smaller really like made it less valuable to me. When I first saw it, it was like, oh, I don't even know if I'd want to hold that belt. I mean, I guess I would, but it looks like it should be like a cruiserweight belt or something instead. It was a big step down. They originally did it on like a blue strap and then or purple maybe even, and then moved it to the black. But I don't like it. I think this belt, you can throw it right in the trash as far as I'm concerned. If I never see that belt ever brought back again, I'll be perfectly fine with it. The updated, more modern Ring of Honor World title. This one, another, just why? Why couldn't you just leave, like, there was nothing wrong with the silver ones that copied the UWF. And these ones look, there's also something, it doesn't look, it looks chintzier, like it all looks like one piece instead of the different, like, embossed, like, beveled and embossed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't pop the way that others do, in my opinion. All this is my opinion. You might love this fucking Ring of Honor title. To me, it's just meh. The old school NWA Television Championship. This was a sexy belt. It came in red. It had the TV logos on the side plates, like ABC and that sort of thing. NBC, whatever was around back then. I thought the design was pretty cool. They used a similar design for their national title at the time. It's clean, it's simple, and to me, like, it exemplifies a wrestling championship. Like, that's what wrestling championships are supposed to look like. Like, that's a very base level design to me. Certainly outdone by a lot of modern examples of championships, more gaudy and that blingy and that sort of thing. But for a television title back in the day with the red and the logos and everything, I just thought this was a pretty pimp belt. I'm going to go ahead and leave it in ace up here. The ECW Television Championship, the Rob Van Dam Championship, if you will. He certainly made this a desired championship belt, a coveted, a respected belt. But the look of it is, it's similar to the ECW title that they had at that time, which has not yet made it up to our rankings. But I feel like it's just not as cool as that one was. Like, they're keeping with the theme, and it fit, and that's fine. And I actually respect that, because the world title should look, you either do all of your belts look the same like UFC does, you know, or the world title should be the fanciest, most beautiful, gaudy, most treasured one, and, you know, progressively slides down. And you can see a television title, which was like ECW's Intercontinental at the time. There was a lot of TV titles in circulation back then, and I thought it was a dope title, but it's not quite up there with the other ones. I'm gonna put that in. Oh God, I think we'll go meh on that one, because there's others in mid even that are better than that. Sticking with ECW, let's talk about this fucking abomination here, the silver WWE ECW version of the belt, the one that Mark Henry held, the one that Christian held. This thing is a stain on championship belts. It's a stain on ECW. Not only does it look ugly as fuck, the shape of it's weird, it's too, I don't know, the silver, it just, none of it works. But on top of all of that, it represents WWE's shit, generic, watered down, piss poor version of what they called ECW. So it's going in the garbage. One thing NXT has always done well with their belts is made them unique. They always try something new with them at least. They go for something different. At the very least, you got to give them credit for that. And this original NXT title, the way that it looked, and then all the side plates that kind of went all the way down the strap, and they were a little bit smaller than other side plates, but there were many of them, and it was a weird look, but it was a unique look, and I actually dug it a lot. I don't know that I'd put it in ace, but let's throw that in mid. It's a fresh look. It's simple. It's definitely not as fancy or as cool looking as a lot of these other more engraved, etched, fine detailed fucking with all the little fleurs and the fucking, the lions in there, or whatever else is hidden in these things. This was simple, but it was a unique design, and you got to give them credit for that. The OG NWA TNA X Division title. Again, very simple. I guess you could see where an NXT would have been inspired by that. Just the giant X in the middle of the title. Similar to this UWF in the ROH look of just having something big, bright, and red and bold in the middle to tell you what this is. It's a nice little design. I'm going to put it in meh, though. I think just a giant red X on a championship. Yes, it's the X Division. I get it, but I don't know. UWF's TV title. You see how it is very similar in shape and design to the UWF Championship, but it's got a globe, it looks like, on the front other than the UWF letters. Another beautiful design. Let's go ahead and just leave that with consistency right there in mid. The UWF titles were pretty belts. A TV title that did not work for me was this abomination here from Ring of Honor. Again, right around the time that they were just redesigning all of their championship belts for no reason. I mean, it was a rebrand. They had a new logo and everything. They were trying to do something different, I guess. But I something about the simplicity and the cleanness of the original belts. This just has a little too busy, a little too, I don't know. There's something like when you look at a belt, like if the side plates get too intricate, it can I don't know. It takes away from the simplicity of it. It's not an ugly belt, but I'm gonna go in meh. Speaking of ugly belts, Jim Cornette's Smoky Mountain Championship belt. Jim has said that he has designed these belts by hand. They're awful. They're absolutely atrocious. This fucking big ugly crown in the middle. I don't know why wrestling belts ever used crowns to be. The only belt that ever pulled it off was the big gold. Had the crown on it above the globe, and for me that worked great because it had the globe too. And it was small and just I mean, I get a crown is, you're the king, you're the man, it's a trophy. I don't get it. Plus the torches for the sidebars there. I mean, nice concept, but it's awkward and weird in delivery. I like the shape of the belt, but it's a miss for me. I'm going to actually throw this piece of shit in the trash. The United States Championship spinner belt version. Now, this offhand seems like it would be an abomination, but it actually kind of grew on me as time went on. I mean, it embodied John Cena's character at the time, and he would be the guy that would change the belt and make a spinner out of it at the time because he was very much in the height of his rapper stuff, but it was catching on. He was getting hot at the time, and it's a pretty blinged out belt. Now, if you're looking at this as like a bling piece for a rapper, it's actually pretty fucking dope. As a championship, it's not great, but I don't know if I can put it in ace, but we'll slide it in. I don't know if mid's even good. I almost want to put it in meh, but I think it's for what it was meant to be, and it only stayed with John, right? Like the spinner didn't carry over to all these other people like it did with the WWE title, if I remember. They had it just for John. I'm going to keep it in the mid. The new WWE Tag Team Championships, the new ones that they just debuted. These are great. These are a throwback to the original, which were amazing, the beautiful 80s and early 90s WWE tag team, the WWF tag titles. They were gorgeous. As I'm looking through my list, I don't know that those made the list either. Boy, that would be embarrassing. They got to be on here somewhere. But if not, I mean, these were definitely a throwback to those. They also included a little bit of the early SmackDown days where they had where they split the titles, but they were still not completely, they didn't switch to the penny coin round trash versions yet. So these are actually pretty decent. I'm going to go ahead and throw these in mid. Following right along, we'll do the new World Tag Team titles. Now, I did notice that it doesn't look like I have the penny versions of the titles, the tacky blue and silver and then the red and silver ones. Those were trash and they would have went in the Medusa list anyway, and it's probably why they didn't make the list. I was probably like, let me see what else I can come up with before I put these abominations on there. They would have been Medusa belts, the ones that these directly replaced, but these are a step up for sure, and they're very reminiscent of the, trying to keep in the design of the World Heavyweight title that they recently redesigned. I don't hate them. They're not as good as the SmackDown ones, though the SmackDown ones are a little bit small, I noticed. They're not as big on the shoulder as I would like them to be. But these ones aren't horrible either. I'm going to go ahead and slide these in mid as well. The mid category filling up big here. The MLW National Championship. Again, this is a beautiful belt. It's very good looking. It's a little it looks a little empty with the big gold in the middle, and it's not clearly engraved. Like if you're gonna do like a big globe or something in the middle, it should be etched out more or colored. This just seems like it's missing a little something, but it is overall pretty fresh. I'm going to throw that in the mid category as well. The Gunther Intercontinental Championship, the current version of the WWE Intercontinental. Look how far we fell. Look at the difference between that OG one and this one. This one's ugly as fuck, in my opinion. They got a weird diamond in the middle and in the circle. I mean, Gunther made it prestigious. He carried it well. But it's just an ugly ass belt. I'm going to throw this one in the trash right there with its other little buddy, the other Intercontinental title. They just keep doing it wrong. Let's make the Intercontinental title the OG Intercontinental title and leave it at that, please. The Superstar Billy Graham Pedro Morales WWF Championship. I mean, for its time, the red straps always kind of bother me, especially when it's a little bit brown like that. It makes it look, I don't know, dirtier or more like a boxing title. And this was very trophy-esque too. It was just that gold background with like this weird silver bird eagle just kind of welded right to the front of it. But actually at the time when you see these guys hold it, it does kind of look kind of blingy for the day. It was a giant step up from the other stuff that was going on at that time. And I don't think it's horrible, to be honest with you. I don't know that I'm going to put it in mid, though. I think I'll leave it in... I think I will put it in mid, actually. I'm going to say that that's a mid title for its time, in its context. Today's standard, it's got that big weird bird on it. I think that's what kind of holds it down for me, and it's smaller and it's red. But at the time, it was a giant step up and than what other people were doing, and kind of set the trend for let's make some pretty belts. The original NXT Women's Championship. This was, to me, an extension of the Divas Championship. It was called a Women's Championship, but it had Diva written all over it, right? It was little pink rhinestone, gemstone things, and everything was pink with it. Not that I don't mind pink for a female championship. It is a female's championship. But it had that Diva stink to it. So for that, I have to put it all the way down in meh. I don't think it's throw it in the trash bad, but it's pretty bad. The OG Ring of Honor Television Championship. This was actually a sexy belt. It was little because it was, it was not your top belt, which I talked about earlier. I actually appreciate that, the lower ranked belts should not be as fancy or gaudy or prestigious. It should look like it's a step down. It's not the big title, but it's a title. And I actually loved, and not only that, but it's small. It's got that center plate is really small, and it's just a low oval shape there, but the side plates are so close to it almost looks like an extension coming off of that fucking thing, and I actually think this is a very beautiful title, a very well done. This was one of the better Ring of Honor championships that they put together, in my opinion. This was a beautiful belt, and I will actually leave that. I'm going to put that in ace. It's an ace belt for me. World Class Championship Wrestling out of Texas. They had a beautiful championship here. This thing is a very pretty belt. Very well done. It was very reminiscent of that late 80s, early 90s-esque, mid-80s even. The belts that they were making at that time, I'm not sure who made this. It looks like it could be very well easily could be a Reggie Parks. It was within, he used a lot of those... there's a lot of the same tropes going on there in that design. It looks good. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and throw that right in ace. Here we go. Big Eagle, the Attitude Era's finest. The championship belt that replaced the Little Eagle, if you will, the Winged Eagle. A lot of people prefer the Big Eagle to the Winged Eagle. I don't know that I would say that. It's certainly bigger. It was a bigger belt. It's more rounded. The Winged Eagle had the wings that kind of stood out a little bit. It was a little bit more. This was more concise, and it's the same design essentially. It was like a remodeled, revamped Attitude version of it. It even had a blue strap when it first started, but they quickly switched that to the black. A lot of people love this belt. They say it's goated. I'm gonna put it in ace. I don't think it's quite goated, but it's certainly up there amongst championship belts. The Gift of the Gods Championship. This was a very unique belt. Both in its presentation and just the look of it in general. You win the separate pieces and that sort of thing. You put it together, but it's a dope design. It's another one that has like a small center plate kind of, but the side plates all together, it makes it look better. I would say that this is, in my opinion, this is a goated championship belt. It was a very, very good design. It's beautiful. It looks beautiful when it's all assembled, and it's unique. I don't see any reason to put that anywhere else but to say it's one of the greatest championship belts ever designed. New Japan's IWGP United States Championship belt. This is a beautiful fucking belt too. It always kind of looks upside down to me a little bit, the way that the point comes down and it's like rounded at the top. I feel like it should be the other way around, but not necessarily. They do things weird in Japan. I don't know. It throws me off just a little bit, but it's so beautiful. It's maybe a little too big and gaudy. And you know how I feel like the top championship should be the biggest, fanciest belt that you got. This one, being a mid-card belt, is actually kind of bigger and fancier than the other belts. So I'm going to actually put this in ace. Even for a red strap, I'm not a huge fan of those. But I just think there's something special about this U.S. title. It's nice. It's a beautiful belt. The New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Now, this is exactly like the New Japan Strong Men's Championship, only that one is black. So I believe we left that off the list because it's essentially the same design, similar with the WWE women's titles. But because I made the choice to leave some of those belts off, we're going to pick this one. And because this one's purple too. And I said I don't mind that they do, a pink or a purple, I guess, in this case for women's. That doesn't bother me either. The purple strap's nice. It's not as bad as that cruiserweight title. For a women's championship, this is actually a decent little belt. I'm going to slide this right in here on the mid. NWA's Women's Championship. This is the most embarrassing piece of shit belt I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't even look shiny. It looks like plastic, if we're being 100% honest. It looks like it's plastic. It looks like it's molded out of fucking... It's a 3D printed championship belt. Billy Corgan can do better. He needs to upgrade that belt. Even if he wants to keep the design, he's got to put some shine on it. There's zero shine. It looks tacky as fuck. It's gross. And again, I don't know that I agree with him trying to, I like a classic look, and I don't think belts should be messed with too much. But I think some of those old belts are a little bit dated and kind of at this point. I think there's a level to how old and classic you want your belts to be. Some people will argue they want the oldest, most, the belt that fucking, that Fabulous Moolah won when in the 1920s or whatever. But to me, it just looks like shit going in the trash. The OG NWA United States Championship, not the OG. But yeah, I think this is actually, I don't know if when they made a decision to switch from a national title to United States Championship or whatnot, but this is a beautiful belt. I tend to like the United States Championship designs for the most part. I think you'll see that here when this is all said and done. And this is actually a very fancy, very pretty belt. I don't know that it's the ace though. I'm gonna again throw it right in the middle here in mid. The WCW television title. Now, this one, by all accounts, should be pretty shitty. There's not a lot to it. There's a globe, there's a bar, another bar, black box bars, and then the WCW logo. And then just, a bunch of like fancy engraving, I guess, some fluors or whatever the fuck else is in there. But in its simplicity, it's sexy to me, and I never expected it. And maybe that was, I keep going back to this, but this is maybe just something I convinced myself of as a kid. But I didn't hold it to the standard of a world title because it wasn't a world title. It was a TV title. And as a TV title, I actually thought it was kind of sexy. I'm going to throw this, for me personally, this is an ace belt. I know it's going to be weird to say, but there's something to the simplicity, but yet the textured detail in there. And I just love it. The NWA National Championship. This was the OG, the OG triple version of, one of the very first belts that they ever had. It looks like it was just fucking giant piece of leather with the fucking gold or silver America on it. This looks like shit to me. I don't know why Billy Corgan is making this, why he wants to keep this around. He's using this now. He loves his fucking nostalgia. This is an ugly title. It's ugly. It should have been left in the past. I know I've heard people say that they like these kind of old titles like this. There's nothing nice about this. The strap is big and bulky. It doesn't form fit with the America in the middle, so it's got this just big swaths of just red leather sticking out on the front. It belongs in the trash. The NXT North American Championship, I think this was inspired by this old NWA National Championship with the bigger strap. They went with something different. They went with a brown leather and a different shape to the leather as well. And then the big America in the middle, but of course they were smart enough to make it look more like a championship than just plastering America in the middle of a leather plate. But you could tell, leather strap, but you could tell it was inspired by it, I believe, in my opinion. I think points for uniqueness. NXT does really good with trying to keep their belts unique to other belts. But I think the brown kills it for me. In the smaller plates, and it just I'm gonna put this in meh for me. The Divas title, less said about this the better. Ugly, tacky, butterfly, goes straight in the trash. This should have been the one Medusa threw away. MLW's world title, I don't know that this looks as good as their national title. I think it's weird if the world title is debatably the best looking belt. I'll keep hanging my hat on that. The world title should be your most coveted title. I shouldn't walk in and be like, I actually like the look of this national title better. I think it's just okay. I'm going to slide it in mid, but I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to put it in meh. I'm going to put it in meh because it's not as good as their national title, and it should be. The WWE UK Championship. It's got the same bones as the WWE Championship, but the middle plate is completely different and redesigned. It's not a hugely prestigious title, but I love the look of it. It's got the lions. It looks like a crest almost. This is going to be an ace. This is an ace championship for me. It's a beautiful, beautiful belt. Now, the real national title that the NWA that should have brought back, the one that Billy Corgan should be using, is this bad boy right here, the NWA national title. This was a gorgeous belt, right up with their TV title. You can see it's the same, basically the same, not the TV title, was that that was their TV title, the red one. This is exactly the same design. There's too many belts, starting to get confusing. Basically the same thing, and they're both really pretty. I love this design, the way the eagle's on there, the way the banners flow. I actually like the way the color at the top around the logo actually matches with the banners. To me, this one works for me. This should be the belt that Billy does use, unless for some reason this ended up being snuck in with the copyrights that WWE owns for some reason, the trademarks. I don't know if I'd go goated with this, but that's an ace championship. It's no different than this TV one up here. Maybe actually less quality than the TV one, because it didn't have the TV channel side plates or the colored strap, but I just love the design of that belt. Here we have another old ECW championship. This would have been the ECW championship that Raven, I think, made famous, if I'm not mistaken. This would have been the one after they switched from this one, the Eastern Championship. I believe this was one of their earlier belts. Not quite their final, more extreme design. This one's actually more classy, though, and I think this is a pretty sexy belt, to be honest with you. I might have to slide this one into ace. Let's do it. Fuck it. Let's put it in ace. I like it. It's got a big plate. It's got a clean design. It's Reggie Parks-esque. If it's not a Reggie Parks, it's Reggie Parks-esque. It just works for me. AWA's other world title. I believe this replaced the original one that we talked about. And this one, not a lot better. It still looks like they're just putting trophy plates on a belt, but it is a step up. I'm just going to put this in meh. It was one of the bigger titles, by the way. It was a very thick boy, and it's one of the first big titles in wrestling, if I remember. The AWA, their championship was very prominently sized compared to like what NWA was doing or any of the other territories at the time. The old Southern Championship here, Southern Heavyweight Champion for Memphis. The Jerry Lawler special here. It's okay. It's a bit small. I like the etching in it. I like the design of it, but it's small. If it was bigger, it might work better for me. And of course, Southern. There's nothing real, I am the champion of the South. I don't know. I'm going to put it in meh. I wouldn't necessarily throw it away in the garbage, but it doesn't impress me much. The AEW tag team titles. These are pretty cool tag titles. They're simple. I don't know that I like the star on it necessarily, but that's just a personal thing, around the plates there around the ribbon. But they're clean. They look nice. It's a cool design. I wouldn't replace it or do anything different with it, but I'd say they're just mid, which is fine. The AEW International title. That's what this is currently, right? They got too many titles. They got a Continental, and then they got an International. It's the one with the flags on it. It's relatively the same shape as their women's title, but I actually like the design of this. It's a clean design. It's got the flags on it from other countries. It's a pretty dope title. I'm going to throw it right there in mid. The NXT tag team titles, they're not a lot different than the original ones. They're just more spiced up. They don't do a lot for me, though. I think I'll just leave them in meh. They probably deserve a little bit better than that, but they're not lighting my world on fire. Another Ring of Honor redesign. I probably should have not included so many Ring of Honor titles on here. They changed their title up quite a bit. It's another one that I think is better than their other redesign, but it's not amazing. This one, I wouldn't even put this in ace, but I would throw this in mid. I think it's a mid-level title. The WWE Women's title, the one that was through the Attitude Era, the Sable title, if you will. The one that was broken in half by Michelle McCool and the other girl, Layla. I had to think Lay Cool to think of even who. Forgot about Layla. My God. Time flies. This title sucks too. Let's throw this one in the trash. Nothing against the women's titles. It's not because it's a woman's title. It's just an ugly ass. It's ugly as fuck. Look at that. Stephanie McMahon held that belt. It's a trash title. There's no effort put into that. The original ROH Pure Championship. I like this a lot. It reminds me of that UWF one. The ROH one is very similar to their main title, which just says Pure, and it's got the grapplers in it. But it's not as good as that one. I'm just going to put this in... I'll slide it in mid. I don't even think it's meh. They probably could have did the word pure bigger, and I think that would have made a difference. It looks like they're trying to save money on the etching or something. I don't know. It's lacking a little something, but it's not a world title either, so it should lack a little something compared to the world title. This ugly ass purple cruiserweight title that they tried to do. I know they made it the NXT title and they turned the strap black. Just a little purple accents. I did not include that belt because it is basically the same thing as this, and the purple is more unique, but it's still an ugly title. I don't know that I want to throw it in the trash just because I like the color purple and it's unique. I probably should. Let's throw that one in the trash. The WBC, the other big boxing title here, the more iconic looking one in my opinion. The green with all the flags around it. It's tacky. It's very boxing-esque, very sports-esque, but it's better than the other one. And this is the Floyd Mayweather belt. Floyd actually had the money belt made. I don't know if you remember that, but he actually had one that was a redesign of this, only it was blinged out with ice and diamond, the diamonds and all that shit. It was a very nice belt, the Floyd belt. This one's just okay. It's not great, but it is iconic. Let's throw it in. I'm going to put it above the other one. We'll put it in mid. That's a mid title. Others might even argue and say it's ace. I think it's just a little too tacky with all of the flags and like just a guy punching on it. I don't know. I don't know that I would say it's like an ace title. AEW's Women's Championship. This is actually a pretty high quality belt. I don't know. It kind of looks weird for women. It looks more of a manly-esque title, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because it might just feel that way because we're used to women's titles being dainty and pink and purple and shit. I'm actually going to put this in mid. I wouldn't put it in ace, but it is a very good title, and if you wanted to put it in ace, I wouldn't argue with you. AEW's TNT Championship, and the TBS title I did not put on this list because it's basically the same except for it's got the blue or the turquoise or whatever, teal instead of the red, and it is a little bit blingier if you notice. It's got more ice where this one's more mirrored. They've been playing around with that look. This one I think has the blingy TNT with the mirrored back, and then the TBS has the blingy back with the mirrored TBS. But other than that, I mean, they're essentially the same belt. This one's had a lot of different straps and stuff. The red one, the retired one, the Brody Lee one. I'm going to put this, that's a goated belt to me. I know it's simple, and I know some people might disagree. I don't know, but I just think the different variations that are capable of it, that we've seen of it, I think it's a very fancy, clean look at the same time. That TNT logo, I mean, it just pops in the middle, and it's not the first time we've seen a network's logo on a belt as we've seen on this list, and it just, I don't know, it works for me, but maybe it won't for you. Maybe you would disagree, but I really like that belt. The IWGP Heavyweight title, the older version, not the new one that they upgraded to. The one prior to that, this bitch right here. It's essentially the same design for the juniors, only they use silver. To me, this is a goated champion. This is one of the greatest belts of all time ever. It's got the lion up here at the top, or the lions, and it's just The side plate's got the names and stuff, but it looks so fancy. The dual plated, the two-tone there, the engraving. It's just such a gorgeous belt. Why would they ever change it? Speaking of, this is the new design. They can't. Look at that fucking difference. Why? It looks like a Divas title. Why would you do that? And especially when, like, you got... Where's that bitch? Where's the other? Right here. There's a mid-card title right below it. Look how much fancier the U.S. title looks than this world title. And this world title's smaller. It looks like it's the same size, but it's not. It's smaller, like a fucking Divas title. It looks like an Intercontinental. I don't know why it's an ugly look. There was no reason to change it from this beautiful goated belt here. Excuse me. It was such an abomination. Who thought that was a good idea? I'm going to throw this belt in the trash. It's ugly. Smoky Mountains Tag Team Championship belts. I think they're better than their world title, but they're still not great. They're a little weird. I don't know why we got the blacked out like circles on the plate to have like the guys wrestling in and stuff. Like I would have did that in gold maybe. You just don't texture it like the rest of the belt is textured. I don't know. They're not horrible, but I'm going to put them in... I don't even know. Yeah, let's slide them in meh. Hulk Hogan's original WWF title. He went through several different versions before they settled on the Winged Eagle. They tried a couple different things. This one I actually like a lot. It was a pretty sexy belt in my opinion. I'm going to throw this. This was an ace title in my opinion. It's a weird design. It's a little bit smaller, but they were just kind of coming into their, fully exploring what a championship could be or look like at that time. And that was a really big step up from what they had before at that ugly ass green bitch. Speaking of that ugly ass green bitch, look at this fucking thing. That's a huge step up right there. You can't fucking tell me it's not. That old thing, just round, tacky, nothing really stood out on it. The big ugly green belt with the boxes, the nameplates I guess on it were all just separate. It doesn't work for me at all. I know some people will like that belt. For me, that one can go right straight in the garbage, bro. It's garbage. The IWGP Intercontinental title is different now today than this one. This one was just basically a mini version of that world title that they had, though it was on a white strap and it didn't have like the lions on the top. It was a little bit less, just a little less prestigious looking, a little less gaudy than the other one, but it was still a very beautiful title. It was one Naito threw around and just kicked everywhere and dragged behind them. I loved that shit. That was one of my favorite angles that they did over there. The Intercontinental title is goated. Well, you know what? Let's put it in ace, because the top title is goated. This one maybe just a hair of a step down. We'll put it in ace. The original UFC title. I don't know if it's the original, but it's the one that I am familiar with. The beautiful title. Look at the difference. Look at that fucking trash ass belt next to it. The one that they switched to. I don't know why they made this decision. This is a goddamn gorgeous belt. It's got the cage in the background and it's the octagon shape, but it's clean. It's got the two tones. It's big. It looks gaudy and blingy and prestigious. I'm going to say that the UFC title is a goated title. That one in particular. I don't know why they ever went away from it. We have 3 different goated titles, in my opinion, that they just consciously made the decision to change to shittier versions for no apparent reason. The ECW Championship, the final version that they landed on before it was bought out by WWE. This one I love. It's smaller. It's kind of complicated, but it's got the barbed wire shit going on in the background. It's got a cage. I don't know. It's got bloody letters on it. I think it embodies what ECW was. It's got colors, and it's actually it's a cool design as well. I'm going to actually put that, for me, this is a goated title. Like, if I'm building a collection of championship belts, the goateds are going to be the ones I want in my case. You know what I mean? Like, those are going to be my go-to first picks. Rev Pro has a pretty sexy title belt. I actually like this a lot for an indie title. It's got the British flag on it. It's got the Rev Pro right there. This is a sweep title. I'm going to throw this in ace. The WCW 90s title, when Ric Flair left with Big Gold, they had to replace it. So they replaced it with this, the Vader title, if you will. I actually really love this design. I think this is another Reggie Parks. It's more simple. It's got stars. It doesn't have a lot of the intricate engravings and stuff, but it is just a sexy title. Something with the way you get a globe, you get a two-tone, you get some ribbons on there. I think that's all you need. If you can do those in like a big shape, a clean shape, I think that's really all you need. I'm gonna throw this in ace. I wouldn't say it's goated, but it's a damn cool title. WWE's new World Heavyweight Championship, obviously a playoff of Big Gold, but they had to get that WWE logo on there too and revamp it. I actually really like this belt. It has grown on me over time. I'm going to put this in ace. It's not the greatest belt of all time. They've had others, and I actually like Big Gold better, but this is a good little brother, little cousin to the Big Gold. It's not a bad choice. The current Ring of Honor TV title, I think I did too many Ring of Honor belts because some of these are just not even all that special to me. This new TV title, I don't know, Tony Khan had to probably put his own spin on it, and he wanted to upgrade all the other titles. I didn't even put some of the other upgrades on here. He changed all the titles again, and I don't like them. They're more reminiscent of the original silver belts, but they're kind of like a hybrid between the two, actually. Which isn't a bad choice if you're gonna redesign, but why redesign? Go back to the old belts. I'm gonna put this one in just meh. It's meh. The new NXT redesign, after they went with that one over here, they switched it up to this guy right here, which actually looks pretty fucking dope. It's a nice design for a title. It looks championship. It's got the two-tone. It's got the big NXT plastered in the middle still, which kept it unique and original to its own flavor. I'm going to keep that in mid. I don't think it's quite an ace title, but it is a very nice belt. Then they came through for the 2.0 era, and they added a splash of color to the belts. The men's and the women's are both the same design, except they added a splash of color, and it looks like I think they inverted. They switched the letters to being silver and the back to being gold instead of gold on black or gold on silver. Women's obviously has the white strap, but other than that, they're the same with the pop of color and the inverted. Again, I'm going to throw these in mid. It's a beautiful belt still, even with the pop of rainbow color. It works for me. I wouldn't say it's an ace, though. The Cruiserweight title, the Chavo Guerrero, that's what I remember most about this belt, basically. Matt Hardy, oh yeah, had it. Rey Mysterio held it. Spanky had it's okay. This is the Hornswoggle title. It's okay. I don't know that I would throw it in the trash, but it's pretty meh. The TNA World title, another redesign here. This one's actually pretty nice, though. Not quite as pretty as this one here in Ace, but it is a nice, clean design. It checks all the boxes you want for a championship, but I think it just kind of falls into mid. There's nothing really standouty about it. The classic WWE version of the United States title. When they brought it back after WCW went on a business, they merged it with the Intercontinental title, right? They had all those unification matches. When they brought it back, this was the design, and this was the design that they had for a long ass time. It looked tacky as fuck in the beginning. It was weird, with the huge red, white, and blue. It was certainly different than things we've seen before, and this one took a while to grow on me, but it did grow on me. I think over time you see it, you kind of just start to like it. And I think I got over that it's mostly red, white, and blue. It's a mid-card title, so it doesn't need to be full. If this was a world title, I think that would be a detriment. But for mid-card, it's a unique concept, a unique way of doing it. It has not been done before. If you look at any of the other belts on this entire list, it's literally the only one where the whole fucking thing is a color, red, white, and blue. So doesn't make it goated or ace, though. I'm gonna slide this in mid. but it's a very nice belt. Let's knock these two off here. We have this WWE Championship with the WWE logo blinged in the middle. The same design as the Universal, except for it's on black instead of, being on blue or red. But it looks better on black, to be honest with you. So I'm going to put it up a step higher than the meh that the Universal was in, and we're going to slide it in mid. Right along with it, let's do the current WWE Undisputed Championship, the merger of the two, the newest iteration of this. I actually like this better. I didn't at first, but now it's solid gold. The other had a black or a red or a blue plate in the background. It was just the blinged out, and the black one looks better. It stands out. The W stood out more on the black, but this actually looks more like a championship in my opinion, while still keeping the "we want a giant blinged out WWE" logo in the middle. So I actually like this better. I'm gonna slide this into an Ace Championship. That might be controversial, but I think it's a very cool looking belt and modernized. You can't you gotta understand that putting the big WWE logo in the middle, it helps the marketing, man. It helps the marketing, but it still looks like a blinged out belt. We got this old weird fucking thing, the Bruno belt here. It's got some sheriff's badges for side plates and then a fucking placard in the middle. This is an ugly ass belt. I know people like these old things. It's got like a blue velvet strap. It's not even leather. It's like velvety or whatever, To me, it's oof. I hesitate to throw it in the trash because it's so legacy, but let's throw it in the trash. The Smoking Skull Championship belt that Stone Cold debuted. Very cool idea, cool design, cool that he had his own look, but I was never actually a fan of it. I liked the big gold better, and I was kind of sad that they replaced it. Like, cool. I mean, it's a piece of merch to sell, I guess, but what about big gold? I'm going to put it down in meh. The WCW United States title. This is a goated belt for me. This was similar to the Intercontinental title in shape, but it had, it was just a little bit different, and it had the big eagle on it with the flag, and I think it was a Reggie Parks as well. It worked for me. As a kid, that was my favorite WCW belt. I loved the way that belt looks. I drew it all the time. It was amongst my favorites as a base to make my own belts out of cardboard and shit. I loved it. Goated. The WWE Undisputed Championship. A lot of people love this. This is their childhood one. This was the Brock belt, the Eddie Guerrero belt. JBL rocked this belt. This was the one of their childhood. Hulk Hogan, I think, was the first to have this. Triple H had it. Undertaker held it. This was that Ruthless Aggression era reboot of a championship belt. To me, I don't like it. I don't hate it, but I don't like it the way other people like it. To me, it's kind of meh. I wouldn't even put it. Oh, you know what? I would say it's mid because I don't think it's quite meh. I don't think it sucks, but it's not what people make it out to be. NWA's 10 pounds of gold, the domed globe, as it's called. As far as iconic championship belts, there's few that are going to be more iconic than this one. It's just instantly identifiable. With that said, it certainly doesn't hold up to any of the standards of some of these newer belts or today's. But even back in the day, it was a pretty fancy piece of belt. When you're looking at the NWA and they had that shitty, like, America plastered on an old fucking leather strap, and they had this cheap ass women's title, and it's like, okay, well, the 10 pounds of gold's actually pretty dope. You know what? It's such an iconic belt. I don't know that it's my all-time favorite, and I don't know that it looks as good as many others. It's smaller than a lot of the others. The globe protruding is kind of weird, but man, it's a goated championship. I don't think anybody can argue that the original NWA title like that belongs in a goated category. And to round out the home stretch here, let's go with the Big Gold. Big Gold, the classic, the one that replaced this year, the NWA title. The Big Gold was the next one. It was the belt that Ric Flair made famous and he brought to the WWF with him. You remember that as a kid? Did you watch that? If not, have you gone back and looked at Bobby the Brain Heenan bringing this championship belt on national TV on the WWF? It was very weird at that time. You know, it was one of those weird crossover things that you don't see very often. This is a goated belt. There are a few more. I don't know if there's any championship that's better. That might be my actual favorite belt. I think there might be one or two others that are my favorites, but goddamn, what a beautiful. It's big, it's gold, it's got the globe, it's got the crown, it's got the gems, the rubies, the diamonds, but yet it's not tacky with somebody's big ass logo. It's timeless. They could still have that belt today and it wouldn't look any dated or you know what I mean? It's better than the one that they have today with the WWE logo plastered in it. It's a gorgeous piece. Speaking of gorgeous pieces, this AEW championship, it's a goated championship. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. That is a beautiful belt. When they first unveiled that, there was no getting used to it. There was no, it's okay. It's gorgeous. It's blinged out like a motherfucker, but yet it's clean. It's got the intricate etching, but yet it is clean with just the AEW in the middle. The word graphics are in gold too. Typically those are in black, so it's all gold, all silver, the two tones. And then the plating, the design, it's a little weird, but then the side plates blend with it to make it look like a bigger, longer side plate. I like that, as they did with the this belt here that they had for the Gift of the Gods, and they also did it with the old Ring of Honor title. Matter of fact, I think it might be based off of this ring. Look at those two side by side. You know, it's a bigger, fancier version of this Ring of Honor TV title, honestly, the way that they did that. It's a goated belt. I don't care what anybody says. You could hate AEW all you want. Their belt is sexy. Finally, I made you wait for it. The Winged Eagle. Let's throw that bitch in the trash. It is way overrated. I'm just kidding. Winged Eagle is probably my favorite title, as you can see behind me. I do go back and forth between these three right here. I love, and probably this New Japan title too. These four are my four favorite. If I had to pick a four favorite championships, but really any of these, all of these in the goated, they're fucking, you can buy me them for my birthday and I would love you to death. They're all beautiful belts, but especially those ones. The Winged Eagle might not be as gaudy or beautiful as some of these others, but it's the one that we grew up on, and it's got that classic design, the eagle, the globe. It's got the bars that come around the side of it that make it kind of unique at the same time. The side plates were really prominent. It was just a sexy belt. A sexy belt in an era where we were growing into wrestling and wrestling was popping and becoming a thing. So it's the belt that a lot of us grew up on. Not everybody, but it's a sexy piece. That's it, y'all. We made it. Thank you for sticking around to the end. I won't hold you any longer. Hit that subscribe if you liked it. Long ass video, but what did you expect when we're going through 100 championships? I hope you liked it. I hope you belt marks, got yourselves off a couple times while you were watching. Not to me, to the belts. I mean, to me too, I guess, if you want to. But peace, love, and pizza. I am your boy, Seth Grimes, and we'll catch you in the next video.